Hi, today I'm gonna show you how to knit this summer lace cover up. Let's get started. Okay guys, same as usual, please check my description box for all the details. I put all the links you might need, such as my website. You can go there and download my written pattern. Today, I'm going to show you this beautiful lace stitch summer cover up. I have been knitted it some cover ups before. Those three are all boat neck. However, this time the difference is the neck. I decided create round neck because it's more comfortable and something different. As you can see, it's wide open, right? So this cover up, I knitted it from bottom to top in round until your desired length. Desired length, which means wherever you want to start arm opening. If you want, you can add more sleeves, and you have to knit in flat. You have to split front and back. Then start knitting front piece first. After you finish front, you knit back piece. As you can see, the neck opening is big enough, so very comfortable. And after you did neck opening, front and back, you connect at the top. And I'm not doing seaming. Anyway, so let's figure it out, my gauge and everything. I didn't knit my swatch. I used the gauge from the label because, you know, this lace knitting, it's gonna be oversized anyway and quite loose. So I thought I don't have to knit. So anyway, let's move on to the math. You need the measurement widest part. Here is my math template. If you haven't downloaded the template, you can do that. So let's input my numbers. My swatch is 4x4 and 18 stitch across, width 4 inch, and 24 rows, width 4 inch. And my measurement widest part, only half, is 16 inches. You don't have to measure round. You have to measure front piece or back piece. Okay? And I am going to find out cast on number from the length. So you have to input your number at the top. Okay? The yellow section. So let's put 16 inch, my desired length, and it's width in yellow section. So you gotta go down yellow section right here, 72. So I need to have 72 cast width in 16 inch. However, this cast on number should be multiple of 6 plus 1. So close to 72. There you go. Bingo. There's 72 here. And again, 72 plus 1 to start. So I'll go with 73, front and back. Okay, so 73 plus 73 is 146. So I am going to make 146 cast on. I need the number multiple of 6 plus 1 each front and back. Okay? Because, later you ended up, needing back piece, front piece separately, right? So that's what I did. Anyway, let's move on to actual knitting part now. So, according to my math, my cast on, again, multiple of 6 plus 1 for each front and back. So, 73 plus 73 equal 146 that I made. All right? And after cast on, you will knit in round. So you have to connect both ends. And garter stitch in round is easy. Starting with all purl and row number 2 all knit. And you just have to repeat row number 1 and row number 2 until your desired length. The garter stitch in flat is knit both sides, but there's no, right and wrong side. In round, always right side, right? So row number 1, all purl, all knit on row number 2. All right? Okay, after the garter stitch, I did eyelet stitch, lace. So row number 1 and row number 2 all knit. Easy. Please remember, if the pattern is very straightforward, I'm not going to show you. All right? So all knit, all purl, I'm not going to show you. I'll skip. Now, row number 3. Okay? So I split in half, front and back. And you have to repeat. You have to finish as front and you have to start again. So knit 1 to start, then repeat off, yarn over, knit 2 together, and then knit 1. You have to repeat within bracket. So repeat of yarn over, knit 2 together, and knit 1. So you just have to repeat until the front is done. Okay? And then after the marker, you have to start knit 1 again. You know what I'm saying? And then row number 4 is all knit. Eyelet is done after row 4. And I just want to make sure I will hit the half marker, which is end of row number 1 for front. Pass the marker, then start all over again. Okay? Knit 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, then knit 1. Okay? I just want to make sure about that. After the design, I am going to add some garters. This is actually up to you. You can add 5 row, 6 row, 7 row, or nothing. It's really up to you. Customize. And in my written pattern, starting on page 3, I wrote everything down, what I did. Now, droplet stitch. Only 2 rows, right? Knit 1 to start. And then repeat off double wrap. 1, 2. Then knit 1. Easy. Okay, double wrap 1, 2, and knit 1. One more time, double wrap and knit 1. That's it. And again, when you hit the mid marker, you have to start all over, knit 1 and repeat of double wrap and knit 1. And let's move on to row number 2. It's gonna be fun. Row number 2. Oh, this is actually end of row number 1, and then row number 2, knit 1 to start, and just drop the double wrap. I'm sorry, I can't, you know, there you go, you can't see me. There you go now. And then knit 1. Do you remember the double wrap? You just drop off. There you go, that's it. And then knit 1. That's about it. So easy. By the way, I repeated one more time, droplet design 2 times, but in between droplet design, I did all purl once. That looks better. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to repeat droplet 3 or 4 times, multiple times, you should put all purl once in between. So row number 1, row number 2, then all purl, row number 1 and row number 2. Something like that. All right? So let's move on to next. Okay, so solid mesh. Row number 1 and row number 2, all knit. I don't have to show you because it's all straightforward. And row number 3, knit 1 to start. Then repeat of yarn over, slip 1 knitwise, slip 1 knitwise, okay, and knit 2. Keep the working yarn front, right? Then knit 2. There we go. Then PSSO, pass the slip stitch over. So you know which one, right? After the yarn over, before the knit 2. And repeat of yarn over, slip 1 knitwise, knit 2. Then the one in front of knit 2, PSSO, pass slip stitch over. Yarn over, slip 1 knitwise, knit 2, then PSSO. Lace stitch, which means lots of yarn over. Okay, yarn over creates the hole, gap, right? So you really have to be careful because yarn over, which means increasing, that's why you have to decrease with knit 2 together or PSSO. So if you forget, you will ruin the design. Row number 5, okay? Yarn over to start. It's easy, but I just want to make sure about it. Again, I skipped the row number 4 because it was easy. Right here, you really have to be careful. If the yarn over right after the marker, okay, make sure yarn over is after the marker. Otherwise, you will ruin the design in next row. Okay, so make sure you start with yarn over in next row. That's about it. Again, you can follow my written instruction or this is customized, you know, cover up. So you can do pretty much anything you want. You know, if you want to add more droplet, you can do that, or you can add eyelet anywhere you want. All right. So now, Grand Peacock eyelet. Row number 1, again, all knit. And row number 2, repeat of slip 1 knitwise. This time, knit 2 together and PSSO right away. Then double yarn over. And this time you gotta be careful. Come out front and then one more. So working yarn at the end, come out front. So this is, you have to be careful. And then slip 1 knitwise, knit 2 together, and PSSO. Then double yarn over. Okay, 1, 2. Then repeat of slip 1 knitwise, knit 2 together, PSSO. Then double yarn over. Okay, so you really have to be careful which way you do double yarn over. All right, and one more thing, slip 1 knitwise and knit 2 together and PSSO, right? And a lot of people forget to do double yarn over before last stitch. Okay, so double yarn over, then knit 1. This is end of row number 2. And then let's move on to row number 3. Okay, this is a little bit tricky. Okay, so knit 1 to start. And then here, double yarn over. So knit 1 in the first yarn over, and then purl in second yarn over. Did you get that? And then knit 1, then knit in first yarn over and purl in second yarn over. Again, knit 1. There you go. And then knit in first yarn over and purl in second yarn over. Did you get that? Maybe you think this is a little bit hard, but it's not. Just all knit except the the second yarn over. Second yarn over, you just have to make purl 1. That's all you have to think. Everything else is all knit. All right. So this is end of row number 3. Knit 1 at the end. That's it. So I repeated 4 times. You can repeat as many as you want. 3, 4, it doesn't really matter. Just be creative. All right? So again, this is my size. So you can repeat same as, my pattern, or you can, shorten, or you can add more length. You know what I'm saying? So here is my knitting so far. Okay, I add eyelet again, I add droplet again, I add a lot of things. All right. So this is actually enough length for me. So I am going to separate front and back, and just for your, info, this is 11-inch total from the bottom. Again, this is up to you. Okay? So now I just want to show you. I add 2 droplet. Then I purl once. Then I split front and back, and I am going to knit front piece first. So transfer all the stitches onto scrap yarn for back piece. And here is my plan. Next lace design, you need stitch count multiple of 6 plus 2. It was multiple of 6 plus 1, which means I have to add 1 stitch. Okay? So I am going to use knit front and back to increase 1 stitch. Also, I am going to add 6 stitch each side for sleeve rib. If you want to, make it longer sleeve, you can do that too. All right? By the way, after this, I am going to knit in flat. So garter stitch means both right and wrong side on it. All right? Okay, so let's add new cast for my sleeve rib. I am going to add 6 stitch. So put the needle in between first and second stitch, and then kind of knit 1. All right, and pull. I forgot to add the marker. There we go. Because I just want to make sure this is the, the sleeve rib. And there we go. Add, and then put the needle in between first and second and knit 1, and there you go. Hook onto left needle, and don't pull working yarn before you put the needle back in between first and second, because if you pull too hard, it's really hard to put the needle back in. All right? This is cable cast on technique. Put the needle in between first and second and knit 1 to create, new cast. There you go. Pull, and before you pull the working yarn, put the needle back. That's it. Again, if you want to add longer sleeve with design, you can do that. And then, outside of the design, you can add rib, doing like this. So make sure the design part, you have to have stitch count multiple of 6 plus 2, and then rib as many as you want. You can add 3, you can add, 6, 7, 8, 10. It's really up to you. Okay? And now I am going to add some garter stitch. Again, garter stitching flat, knit both right and wrong side. So I add or knit 2 rows before the next design. And by the way, I am going to add rib for sleeve, right? Which means no more droplet design, because droplet edge, it's not kind of nice clear cut. So I don't think it's good idea to add rib, besides the droplet. And I am going to do KFB, knit front and back. This is increasing. I increase 1 stitch there. So now I have 6 plus 2 stitch count, which is 74. And end of this row, I am going to add another 6 stitch for this side of the rib, right? And this time I'm using just a regular new cast on 6 of them. That's it. Okay, so the total stitch count for me is 74 for the lace design, and 6 stitch each side for the rib. So 74 plus 12 is 86 stitch in total. You really have to remember this because you have to do exactly same thing, the other side, but it's a little bit, different. But I'll explain later on. All right? And then I'm actually doing garter stitch on wrong side, which is knitting, right? Now I'm going to knit until the neck carve starts, okay? And then vintage lace in flat. Outside of the marker, always garter stitch. So, which means all knit. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Outside of the marker, for me, 6 stitch garter. And next vintage lace, purl 2 together. Okay? And YF means yarn front. Keep the yarn front, then SSK. That creates the increase 1 stitch, but SSK to decrease. Okay? Then repeat starts, knit 2 together, double yarn over, come front and 1 more time. So keep the yarn front and then purl 2. Then YF means yarn front, keep the yarn front, and then SSK. I do that 1 more time, repeat off, knit 2 together, and double yarn over. 1 and 2, then purl 2, and keep the yarn front. YF means yarn front, then SSK. You just have to repeat with some bracket until last 4 stitch. And here comes last 4 stitch, knit 2 together, double yarn over, and purl 2. The real pattern is not using, yarn front and double yarn over. It's just a yarn over. However, the beginner, knitter probably gets confused. That's why I use yarn front and double yarn over to make sure what you have to do. Okay, so please follow my written pattern. And every even number of row, okay, you just follow my written instruction. It's not all knit or all purl, the mixed with the, knit and purl. But you just follow my written instruction and you should be fine. All right? And one more thing I want to tell you about the yarn over. Sometimes written instruction, yarn over, it's not clear enough. However, I wrote double yarn over and yarn front. That's actually means yarn over. All right. So as long as you follow my instruction, you should be fine. And here is row number 3. It's a little bit tricky, so let's watch. Okay. Purl 2 to start. And after purl 2, knit 2 together. Then yarn over at the end. There you go. Then repeat starts within bracket. And within bracket, yarn over to start and yarn over at the end. So it's like a double yarn over. So one more time. Okay, I did yarn over again. Then keep the yarn front, then SSK. All right, SSK, slip, slip, knit. And then after slip, slip, knit, purl 2. And after the purl 2, knit 2 together. All right, then yarn over at the end. However, you have to repeat. So yarn over to start. So, it's like double yarn over. Okay. And SSK, knit 2, purl 2, I'm sorry, and knit 2 together. Then yarn over at the end. And I meet you on row number 4. I just want to make sure about around the double yarn over area. Okay. So let's do that. Row number 4. Okay. I just want to repeat. Repeat of purl 2. Knit 2. And here is the one. After the purl, there we go, double yarn over. And the first one, knit 1. Knit 1 in first yarn over and purl 1. Second yarn over. And just repeat. That's pretty much it. I want to make sure one more thing about the double yarn over, because people probably start wondering. Because after the double yarn over, some row only 1 increase, some row 2 increase. What's the difference? The stitch you make after the double yarn over, purl or knit. Then increase difference occurred. Anyway, this vintage lace stitch end on row number 8, and you can repeat many times you want. I repeated 3 times, and that's the time I want to, create the neck opening. In other words, I need enough length. So after this, I am going to start creating neck carve. First of all, I add garter stitch 5 rows because now I'm trying to create the neck curve, right? At the bottom of the neck, I kind of want to have garter stitch. So don't worry about it. Just add garter stitch as many as you want first. And whenever you have enough garter stitch for bottom of the neck, let's create the neck opening curve. All right? And you don't really have to worry about the, dividing 3 or anything at this moment. So again, garter stitch in flat, knit on the right side and wrong side as well. And you have to stop after right side garter row, okay? Because on the wrong side, you have to bind off for bottom of the neck opening. And if you want to knit boat neck, which is kind of straight rectangle, you can do that too. Okay, so after you knitted it some garter stitch, now you have to divide by 3. Let me actually give you my example. I have 86 stitch altogether, divided by 3 section, which is 28. 28 plus 4 equal 32. So I am going to divide 33 stitch both shoulder and 20 stitch for the neck part. That's how I divide it. The reason why I have to add 4 stitch onto, the base 28 number, that's because I am going to decrease 4 stitch just outside of the neck. That creates the curve for neck opening. So I had to add 4 stitch for the shoulder part first. So it will ended up 29 for shoulder and both shoulder and 20 for neck. However, you will have the 4 stitch each side space outside of the neck, which consider as neck. You know what I'm saying? So you should divide it by 3, the whole stitch count. And you have a base number, 28, plus 4. 4, everybody same. Okay? Then that's how you divide. All right? But again, this is my design. If you want to, have wider neck opening, you can do that too. Okay? This is just my example. You can, take more stitch for neck opening. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be wider neck. Okay, so now on the wrong side, I'm doing all knit again and then bind off next section. Okay? And for both shoulder, you just have to knit. Only for the neck part, you bind off. Then from now on, you have to knit each shoulder side separately. You know what I'm saying? So right now, I'm binding off. For me, 20 stitch. So 33 stitch each side, left and right. And one more thing you have to be careful. After you remove the neck marker, you gotta bind off one more thing because that stitch is neck stitch. All right, so knit one more after you remove the marker and bind off. Okay, and this stitch actually belong to this side of the shoulder. Okay, so bind off, done. I'm facing to right side now. All right, and working on attached this side, which means I'm going to knit my left side first because I don't have to cut the working yarn, right? So let me actually tell you, I add one more marker. The orange one is for rib and this is for decreasing as I told you, I am going to decrease 4 stitch and other 4, total of 8 from the neck side. And the other side, same thing. Okay? And in between markers, I have 19 stitch, which is multiple of 6 plus 1 because I am going to add, 2 other lace stitch, which is multiple of 6 plus 1. So again, I have 19 stitch there, multiple of 6 plus 1, and 6 stitch for rib, and 8 stitch for neck side. 4 decreasing and 4 for the rib. Around the neck, I should have, same garter rib. Okay? And now I am going to knit more length. So after this, I am going to decrease the neck side of the stitch every other row. Again, I am going to decrease 4 stitch total, which means I am going to knit 8 rows to decrease 4 stitch. Okay, little by little. So, decreasing for left shoulder, this is right side. You always decrease on right side with knit 2 together. Okay? And this time you use knit 2 together. Okay? So just keep knitting and add in the lace stitch if you want. If you don't want to, use just a garter stitch. Whatever you like. Okay, so this may be confusing, but I'm going to tell you one thing. Whatever you're doing, decrease at the end of the row on the right side 4 times. Okay? So whatever you add in the, design, doesn't really matter. Decrease 1 stitch with knit 2 together just beside the neck bind off. You know what I'm saying? And then also outside of the marker, both side, the close to neck, one with the sleeve side, always knit garter stitch, which is knit on right and wrong, both side. Okay? So that's pretty much it, After you decrease 4 stitch, you just have to keep knitting until your desired length. Okay? If you knit more, it's gonna be deeper neck opening. If you stop way early, it's gonna be, shallow, smaller neck opening. You know what I'm saying. And you just have to count the rows you knit because you have to do exactly same thing for the other side and back. I just finished the eyelet and did garter stitch, and I finished decreasing 4 stitch. So now I'm going to just knit straight up. And there we go. After eyelet, I add solid mesh. Now the lace design is enough for me because I was thinking maybe I'm gonna add 10 rows of garter stitch at the end. So, on top of my shoulder would be very solid, right? So this is long enough. And one more thing I want you to make sure, okay? Because you're knitting the shoulder part, so you really focus on that shoulder part. However, you kind of have to look at arm opening as well. Is that big enough? Right there. Or, maybe too much already? Well, if it's too much, you have to undo it, but, make sure it's big enough, right? So that's one thing you have to think, okay? So again, I am going to knit 10 more rows for my left side of the shoulder, okay? And when you finish, transfer all the stitch onto stitch holder or scrap yarn, like that. Again, I am not sewing. Okay, I am going to connect with the knit two together bind off later on. So I am going to keep every single stitch. And now I'm going to knit my right side of the shoulder. Okay, starting from neck side because I have to start on right side. So this side you have to decrease first 2 stitch. SSK because I want to decrease left shifting, okay? And then knit whatever, same as the other side, okay? So again, I am going to tell you one more time. This side, first 2 stitch you have to do SSK to decrease 1 stitch 4 times. Okay, only on the right side. So wrong side, you don't decrease, which means to complete decreasing 4 stitch, you need to knit 8 rows. Okay, so front piece done. All the stitch, shoulder stitch, I kept it on the stitch holder. As you can see, this is actually back wrong side, but shifting right and shifting left. It's beautifully, done decreasing. Okay. Now, I gotta start knitting back piece. Okay. So, back piece, as you can see, I have to add 6 stitch each side for the rib. Also, the vintage lace stitch I have to create. And after the vintage stitch, you do exactly same thing. However, I'm not going to make big neck opening this side because this is my back. Okay, and I decide I am going to decrease only 2 stitch each side of my neck, which means I only need 4 rows to finish. And remember, I add 10 rows of garter stitch, right? So you kind of have to count backwards. So last, 4 rows, you have to start decreasing, which means last 5th row, okay, of the garter stitch, you have to bind off and then start decreasing next row. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna actually tell you later more, but again, for the back piece, I am actually adding the new cast, same as front piece. So you just have to keep knitting, okay? By the way, after the vintage lace stitch, I have to adjust one stitch down this time because the eyelet and solid mesh needs stitch count multiple of 6 plus 1. Okay, that's what you have to remember. And now it's done. I add garter, eyelet, garter, and then solid mesh. Okay, I'm on right side, facing to right side. Okay, and now I have to actually tell you one more time. I am going to create back of my neck curve, but not like front opening. Okay, I only decrease 2 stitch instead of 4. Okay, which means I need 4 rows to finish the back of the neck decreasing, right? Which means you kind of have to count from backwards, okay, to make sure when to do the bind off. Okay, so I add 10 rows of the garter, right? So count backwards. 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, so 7th row, I have to start decreasing. So on the 6th wrong side, I have to bind off. You know what I'm saying? Same as actually, front piece. And now divide it by 3. This time you have to count, stitch count, for the both shoulder on front piece. I have 29 stitches. So after decrease 2 stitch becomes 29 stitch. It has to be matched, right? Which means 29 plus 2 is 31. So for the back piece shoulder stitch count should be 31 to start. And rest of the stitch will be my neck part. Neck part stitch count, it doesn't really matter it's matched or not. Important thing is after I decrease 2 stitch for each side, has to have same stitch count as front piece. That's the most important part because I am going to, connect front and back together later. Okay, so let's do that. So it's a 6th row, which is garter stitch for me, wrong side, bind off. Okay, I believe I had 23 stitch there. So everything else on it. And I am going to start on my left side again, And everything else is pretty much same. So I don't really have to explain, But I wrote it down. 7th on knit with neck decrease, knit to together or SSK. 8th on knit, wrong side. You don't have to decrease, right? And do same thing. And then for the 10th row, on it, which is wrong side. And now you connect two together. Okay, so let's finish. Okay, so now I have 29 stitch, front and back piece. Okay, and I'm kind of lazy, so I'm not going to transfer all the stitch. I'm going to use the stitch holder as a needle And what you have to do is knit two together, one from the stitch, one from the needle and one from the stitch holder, which means, back piece and front piece. Knit two together. It's really hard actually underneath of the camera. And there we go. And one more time. Knit two together, front and back, right? And then bind off. That's it. And I really want to show the little bumpy, bind off. So I actually put the wrong side two together. Okay. If you don't like that, bumpy line on the top of your shoulder, you can actually put right side together and then do the knit two together bind off. It's really up to you. But I like the texture. So, and after this, weave the ends off. Also, at the bottom of the sleeve, you have to sew them together. This is the reason why 99.9% seamless. Okay? Well, if you make the sleeve longer, you have to sew longer. But mine, just a, 6-stitch rib, so it's easy enough for me. So that's about it. Okay? This is super easy. It's a little bit confusing around the neck area, but if you, think carefully, count carefully, it's not that difficult. Okay? So enjoy knitting. Bye for now.